I told my mom I was going to a friend's house. She didn't recognize me when I got back. So, I left my apartment last Tuesday with a backpack, a scarf, and a fake ID. I told my mom I was going to a friend's house in Oregon for a weekend. She hugged me, said I'd be back before sunset. I didn't tell her I was running from my ex, who'd been threatening me for months. I didn't tell her I'd been sleepwalking for weeks, waking up in places I didn't remember going. I didn't tell her I'd started calling myself Jamie instead of Alex, because I felt like I was wearing a mask I couldn't take off. When I got back, my mom was waiting at the door. She looked at me, then at the scarf I was wearing, the one I'd bought in Portland, not realizing it was the same color as my ex's, and said, "Who are you?" Her voice was calm, but her eyes were wide. I froze. I couldn't speak. I didn't know how to explain that I'd been living in a different version of my life for weeks, that I'd started answering to a name that wasn't mine, that I'd been hiding in plain sight. She didn't scream. She didn't call the cops. She just sat me down at the kitchen table, poured me coffee, and said, "You're still you, aren't you?" I cried then. I cried because she didn't look at me like I was broken. She looked at me like I was still her kid, even if I didn't know who I was anymore. She told me about the letters I'd left on the counter, the ones I'd written to my future self. I hadn't opened them. I didn't know they were there. She said she'd been waiting for me to come back, even if I didn't remember how to get here. I stayed with her for 3 days. We didn't talk about the ex. We didn't talk about the sleepwalking. We just talked about the way the coffee tasted, about the way the sun hit the kitchen at 3 p.m., about the fact that I'd forgotten how to laugh, and she taught me again. I left on Friday, but I didn't go back to Oregon. I went to a therapist. I went to a support group. I went home. And for the first time in months, I felt like I was still me.